Hi, I'm Rene Hayes, and I've been married to Michael for over 22 years, and we have 4 children. I was born and raised in Arizona by Christian parents, and our family of 4 attended church Sundays, Wednesdays, and every special event in between. I came to know Christ as a little girl. When I was 6 years old, I was at the Safeway grocery store in Coolidge, Arizona, and I stole something. And when I returned home that evening, my parents found out, and my dad explained to me using a verse in the book of James, and if you know the good you ought to do and you don't do it, that's sin. And he asked me if I knew what I did was wrong, and I did. So that night, my dad prayed with me to receive Christ, and that is how my sins were forgiven. When I was a young teenager, I heard a sermon that really triggered within me what became my passion. And the sermon was about how God knows us before we're formed in the womb. And since that time, I have spent over 20 years volunteering at pro-life ministries in a variety of states. And it truly is my passion to tell others the truth about their value from the time they are conceived. I'm returning to Tanzania, Africa this June with a dozen people from South Peoria Baptist Church, and in addition to hugging and playing with each orphan that we visit, I will be sharing my favorite story, the story of God, the author of life, and how He wants to tell a story through each person He creates, which begins in the womb. And also, I'll be meeting with medical professionals in preparation for starting a medical clinic in Iringa, Tanzania. This trip is very costly. There's 6 within my family going, and if anybody is interested in donating items to the garage sale or donating specifically to this clinic effort, I hope that God will take my step of obedience to donate a year's salary to start a medical clinic in Tanzania, to encourage others to take the step of obedience to do what God is calling them to do. I love the parable that's well known that Jesus shared about the Good Samaritan, and how the man in need in that story was helped by someone from another race and from a different place. And I believe that Jesus told that story to remind us to love our neighbor as ourselves. And I think it's important to love those that are near us, but it's also important to use our time and our resources to help those that are far away. So when I'm in Tanzania, I hope I'm able to do that. To be quite honest, I was very nervous and apprehensive about going to Africa. For the first time, I was traveling to a foreign country without my husband, whom happens to be a doctor. But God took that fear and He turned it around. And I would like to encourage anyone here to be bold and accept the challenge God places before you, because He will never leave you or forsake you. And if you will overcome that fear, He will use you in a mighty way.